We're going to start with this very short one. Okay, it says, I've got a triplex with a rat infestation. I've killed 40 in the past 2 weeks, closed any holes outside, and yet I still have rats.
40.
40.
It's about 39 too much for me.
40 too many, actually. My contractor went by at 3 a.m. as the furnace went out for the other units and looked in the main floor unit and saw a group of 5 rats eating from a bowl of Doritos left on the floor. There were half a dozen bowls on the floor.
Are they being fed?
The renter was feeding the rats. They were walking on her counters and her couches. Totally insane. So his rat problem came from one person and her 80 bags of Doritos.
Who just feeds rats? Okay, first of all, who feeds rats? Second of all, who just feeds rats bowls of Doritos?
I mean, if I was a rat, I would want Doritos.
I am a rat and I do love Doritos.
I mean, come on. Also, I can at least empathize with wanting to feed the rats as someone who loves animals, but not enough that you're like causing an infestation where he could kill 40 in 2 weeks and still
Yeah.
have a never-ending amount of rats coming through. That means they're also like doing the deed all up in your house and making
Yeah.
babies. Ew.
Just do like a live trap and then like take them somewhere and release them.
Wait, I thought they can come back though if you release them.
Take them to a shelter.
A rat shelter.
A rat shelter. A rat home. Not just a rat house, a rat home.
Perfect. You heard it from Faith. Take him to the rat home. Okay, that's one. All right, next one is Josh's story. Okay, so this is our chief of operations. And this is his story after leaving the military. Ready? Okay. Now, he said that everyone knows that your first apartment in New York City is an experience if you're not from New York City, because a lot of times you don't know the areas yet and you're still trying to figure out like what's good for rent. So this is his first New York City apartment experience. Okay, he says, first apartment in New York City after getting out of active duty so that I could use the GI Bill. I took a quick tour and the place seemed fine. It was a high rise by the Hudson with big windows overlooking Harlem. Unfortunately, the neighbor was an absolute lunatic with the world's most impressive sound system. Guy would blast music at all hours of the night. It was so loud that we couldn't hang any pictures on the walls because the bass would shake them right off. I knocked on his door to ask him to turn it down on several occasions, but he didn't care, so I reported him to the building manager. He went absolutely nuts after that and would get drunk and bang on our shared wall and yell insults through the wall and the door. Jeez. I went back to the building manager and told him we wanted to break the lease, and he wasn't having it at all. So I reached out to a tenants' rights group and sent them everything with videos and all. They reached out to me and found out that I was a veteran and said the owner of the building was actually a veteran. So, and that they knew him personally. He reached out to me and come to find out he was actually a fire support officer for a unit I had supported previously. So he let us break our lease and he returned our security deposit with no issue.
That's nice.
Thank goodness for some sort of I don't know, common ground.
Yeah.
Because to go to a new city that you've never been to before, and you have to be there for a job or for school or something where you're locked in and you have to be in that apartment for a year when you don't know the area, you don't know how things are supposed to work. That's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, to have like a bad landlord situation or a bad neighbor situation and just know that you have to suffer for the next year.
Yeah.
No.
Pass.
Hard pass. And that's why platforms that let you do month to month should exist. Or do exist.
Logo.
There it is. Okay. All right. So this person had a renter, and they said that the renter's girlfriend and her kids moved in without permission. and then the couple broke up. The renter moved out and left the girlfriend and the kids there. So this guy offered to transfer the lease to her at the same low cost, but she said she would not be paying rent and would not leave unless evicted. She kept her baby locked in a closet. Police said if I reported it again, after reporting it already, that I'd be arrested for harassing her. And CPS was involved, but they didn't seem to care about her baby. Her older child attempted to harm himself in the apartment and would beg her to take him to school, but she wouldn't. She moved in her new boyfriend, who was a sex offender straight out of prison. We lived below them the whole time, and when I finally got them all out, she left everything, which is mostly actually the original renter's stuff, behind in the apartment and made a GoFundMe for new clothes and furniture because she lost her family home.
This is the worst person I've ever heard.
Yeah. So many things wrong. So many things wrong.
Disgusting human being.
And like, when you hear about like squatters, you're like, gosh, that's rough. And that's not even the worst part of this story. That's actually the least concerning part of all of it. So, squatting, okay, down here. I don't even know how to rank these.
You
Squatting, not taking your children to school, and them begging to go to school, and like having legitimate mental health problems because they're so isolated. And then tie for the top spot is bringing in a sex offender and also locking your baby in a closet. What?
Jail.
Jail. Absolutely jail. So, that's great. And our last one from Reddit, and then I'll tell mine real quick, like. Okay. A big property management company took over our small complex. The manager in charge of the complex was an older lady. She now had a direct supervisor who was a nightmare. The previous management installed French drains due to some serious flooding in our gardens, and she ordered them to be removed in January. By February, 17 of the 36 apartments had black mold. Literally within a month. That's crazy.
Okay.
The whole complex ended up getting remodeled. She came into our apartment without notice, cause, or permission. She went into my closet, took my firearm, and pointed it at my cats multiple times. My neighbor called the cops because it was 2 a.m., and he and his wife were taking care of our cats while we were out of town. I'm so glad I put a trigger lock on it before I left, because she was high on meth and had planned to kill our cats and rob our apartment. No one knew she had keys made to the entire complex while being remodeled. Finally, 18 years later, we got a settlement and our property back. And they said that the reason it took so long is because the property owner vowed to keep it in court until he died, and then he finally died.
What? Huh?
And then I didn't write mine down, but we could just talk about it real quick because I think it's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Okay, so back in 2014, I left for the military, right? Mm-hmm. So I went to basic training, and when I left for basic training, my boyfriend at the time was living in the apartment that we had shared when I left. And because I left for the military, we were able to break our lease and everything. So he was eventually going to move out to where I was going to be stationed. In that process, for some reason, our property manager lived right across the hall from us and was like always drugged out, just like fighting in the hallway, going crazy. And I think there was something going on with the property managers where they weren't happy that we were able to break our lease because of like the military clause stuff, but had to do it legally. So while my boyfriend at the time would be at work, they would just enter our apartment unit. And I'm in basic training. I'm gone. I'm like in the military. And they were entering our unit. They stole a digital camera that I had and like all the equipment for it. They just took the bag out of the closet. They took the stovetop pieces and then tried to say that we took them So when we moved out, they like kept our security deposit for that. And I had a pet rabbit at the time that we had in the apartment. And they called the cops saying that the rabbit was left unattended for too long each day while my then boyfriend was at work. And they had the cops come in and seize the rabbit. So they took my rabbit and his cage and everything and left with it. And then we weren't given any notice by the property management or the local law enforcement about where our rabbit went. And we weren't able to get our rabbit back. And at that point, we were like, I mean, I was 19, and my boyfriend at the time was like 20. So like we didn't know what we were doing, and we didn't know what we were supposed to do. And he was also moving out of state to come to where I was at. So we literally didn't pursue any type of like civil court, small claims court, or anything like that. And we couldn't find out what happened to our rabbit, but I know that it was taken. So,
Not your rabbit.
not my rabbit.
Take the stove, but don't take the bunny.
Yeah. Take anything else. You already took my camera. Like, are you not pleased? Why the rabbit? It was such a weird, vengeful thing to do. And to this day, I'm like, what the hell happened to that rabbit?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do anything. I was in basic training. I literally did not have access to like phones or anything. So I was just like, I came out of basic training, and he was like telling me, he's like, yeah, this is all the stuff that happened while you're gone. I'm like, where the hell's the rabbit? And he's like, we don't know. And they wouldn't tell him. And then he moved out. They kept our whole security deposit and charged us for the stovetop pieces and stuff. As if anyone would take those. Why would I ever take a
Who would
stovetop
take
piece?
those?
Makes no sense.
All right.
Love that. So, R.I.P. I don't know what happened to the bunny.